This area here, when you'll mind when all the boats was here, there was actually in the 80s, there was 90 fishing vessels working out of Lossiemouth, local boats, local fishermen.
Go out and in?
Going out and in every day.
What
and
a
you
sight.
could, at the weekend, you could walk from
You
this
could walk
side of the
across.
harbour, right across to this side, stepping from boat to
From
boat.
boat to boat. I was the spokesman, really, of the fishermen
Aye.
in Scotland, because
There was nobody else.
Nobody else.
Nobody else in government
No.
interested. Well, it was a big help when you get somebody on your side.
Ach heddewichli Winnie an a bhí talag edeke diorpach gan is gídach gehéin. Hu gemúnige Objective 1 úrige kan havel i de Gaeltachts na Hillanen. Ba huv dolchas na Gaelic, ach gesech garit ba huv kar economy na skide.
I learned early on that there was European money for deprived areas, and the issue was to get your area to fit into the legal definitions. And we worked hard at that in the Highlands. All the local authorities worked together, Argyll, Orkney, Shetland, Highland. It was a marvellous team effort, it really was. And even at the last minute, the Secretary of State for Scotland tried to split up Argyll from the rest. And I said, no, I'm not agreeing to that. It's all or nothing. We've all worked together, and I'm not letting you say you can have it but for Argyll. I'm not having that. So in the end, I won through.
The money for Objective 1 did not arrive in a wheelbarrow from Brussels. I mean, it was a mechanism which directed UK government resources towards Objective 1 areas, including the Highlands and Islands.
Ha cúineach dúine déchol látir agus déchá cruíomh a bhaine gopad ar san a Gaeltach agus san na Neileán na ráidin agus thula goras na hain ar san transport agus aisican agus a thula déile ba sinna tíon trá airicid ar an Eorpa agus thuaidh a Gaeltach an taricid sin a chins go rá bhaine is tríad a hán.
Ba clúig Winnie an san Eorpa san rúta na Dhéanú. Ba seo fólaseach an san dáis an dúirí taichgus an laug a chud bachcagad tancad an neohiarintje buna bhfuid bheanach agus fochlataich in Alapa.
In my area, the approaches to Shetland, where we're, of course, getting huge numbers of oil tankers, and the Minch, that area between the mainland of Scotland and the Western Isles, where 2 tankers can hardly pass. Even as a party of 1. I mean, for instance, my code of conduct for substandard tankers, I got on my side MPs from Liverpool, the Channel ports in England, all the islands in the Mediterranean. If you had an idea that was relevant to their needs, you could get an amazing support right across the board. You couldn't do that in the House of Commons, you see.
Iar a bhí cuiteach go rá skillan uiachgeiche a bharach skillan nimmerst. An an nuití a céirficht sa cóig, hu cí cochrinach a glómi, buan ruchgach i malasteat a náisianta a dhéinear nish. Yn oedd eile fai cwyd ia fai alapa id aarstúnlar yn dŵil. Ad sy fai an sy'n rynyorpa rhan wyni stri son ada a harain go alapa. Ach ar osyn gylior.
I think her experience as a nationalist from a small party told her that you had to fight harder and louder than anyone else. So she went to the centre of Europe and fought louder and harder than anybody else for the Highlands Islands, and the results were obvious.
There may well have been things around the edges where, you know, a bit of lobbying, a bit of glad-handing, a bit of, you know, big pals with the Irish sort of thing, you know, had influences, and that might well be the case. But, I mean, I can't think of anything on the sort of classic list of Highland issues where you would say, you know, that was delivered by Winnie Ewing.
Chosyn I clw mar yn bawl y badge y real Parliament na Eorpa. Ach fa tarin ladiad has ti an y politics na halapa. Aus me yedig hawl, cha y tala gachai go Holyrood. Fa taich gan Phartaidh Naiseanta yn alapa y sir gol y med ans na nugatan. Yn cos tau Parliament na diag ceirfichyd sa siach diag, cha yn realtas labarach ag Tony Blair ys diachig. As chumiatsen yn Gallian it féin rialag. Yn oedd eile chai referendum a chumal id molian son Parliament alabanach. Ach yn dwyd sio charro crap yn starws yn bina ddwyb, a chwyd eich stad id fod na mórchwyd son féin rialag. Glúis Winnie fo arstún lan I h-Alba go starsi chéin an na Holyrood. Agus bhí misc na ciad bhuiil an sa fála me dealapanach. Mar a bedúil hap an big a bha farsi bhgeiche di gáil I lá echtrial a goscali. Mar a bála behinne chai uram an noscli a bhulach a gora. Agus gafid is a chorum ca helanta.
What an experience. It was Robert McIntyre who said to me in his deathbed, really, if we make it and you're at the opening, you must say these words. And he told me to say exactly the words that I did say. The Scottish Parliament adjourned on the 25th day of March in the year 1707 is hereby reconvened. I got enormous applause for that. Even Ruth Wishart, who is not always a supporter of mine, but a good writer, she came up to me and said, if you never say another thing, Winnie, you've said enough.
An a dábhíle sa tríomh Winnie na húnar a díist le de chuchal Stuart an duneachge. Bech ar de bear agus an neach taich politicach a betaí an na bheiche.
Oh, he was always there, you see. He was an addict of reading newspapers. I think he got more newspapers than any person I ever met in my life and read them all. He was an addict. So he was really my unpaid help in reading newspapers and telling me what to avoid or what they were saying about me. And so you couldn't have paid anyone to do that, you know. He was always there. He enjoyed it, though. He loved politics. I think it was worse once I realised that was it, the end of an era, you know. Oh, well, these things, that's what you have to face up to in life. You lose people. You just have to accept it.
A bhliana sin cuideach céisi sias mar bhá Parliament dealapanach. Bha iad hochblan na dia cadíchiad a chu seachad a ruchgacha an dlúi an na politics. Santran na briar Stop the World, Scotland Wants to Get On, chud a bhór chuideach an neolas a doiseach I den neolsanach ga Gwynni. Ach an rodói ag amas cho árt a sadavacha. Chanil tsecu nach de garich I klár politicach na h-Alba. Chud I spianna gan an tacrigars an féin riolag agus húgi cnitas gan a Phartaidh Naiseanta.
Well, I think it was a vital piece of the history because of the timing. You know, I just got in at a good time for the party's fortunes were kind of flagging and they needed the publicity that I got for them. And it made everyone think again about the whole issue because I was there.
Va úiech gan a dúine, va I maid bdíon dú an a gainde hikigat ach va I dóial an cúteach gachneach. Va sin úlach na bhuanachadh.
Winnie thinks deeply about politics. She comes from a radical base. She thinks the unthinkable. She starts from that radical position and she starts from the position of what's the common cause, what's the popular instinct, what's the people's choice. And to have that instinctive knowledge of where the people are positioned is a priceless asset.
I think what no one can take away from her is that she's probably the most successful personal vote winner in the history of Scottish politics.
Thank you very much.
Son politics Winnie had a da chud saliad agus neo chinteach. A bechcan bunrachgal bhuanachadh a chanil tú bheice is a laimh chlí. Hais dúama is moralta a chanil tú bheice is a laimh yes. Siimplís go bhile sé tíadach náisiantach a hana Winnie. Ach ma gúte nas cutramiche sé pragmatiche a hínte, go politicach agus go persanta.
You get politicians who are admired. You get politicians who are feared. You get politicians who are respected. It is unusual for a politician to have all those things, but also there to be a strong affection for her. And that is true. There is an enormously strong affection for Winnie.
Bishyn y diachanach chodadif sa haid a gúneach Jeffrey Yano an the Sewell politics. As ma gúte go bhfuil sin sgas go dú gisiach ritsinón go raibh furista. Ba Hamilton chun a Gaeltach, ba Westminster chun a Bhuanachadh. Har o ishe dálig a le rútsa bích meile chudara ba bhí fiachan is an dúil a Stad.
As a public representative, I mean, she did her task with zeal, you know, and then she had that flair of humour, you know, and even if she did rub people the wrong way, well, I said, that's Winnie, you know.